Do you know Medusa? You probably heard of Medusa, the creature with a head full of serpents, whose gaze turned anyone who looked at her into stone. A monster, right? But what if I told you that Medusa, the monster we were taught to fear, wasn't always like that? That her story is actually one of the most tragic and unjust in all of Greek mythology? Prepare to uncover the truth behind the legend. A tale of beauty, devotion, and a curse that changed everything. Before she became a feared figure, Medusa was a mortal woman of unparalleled beauty, deeply devoted to the goddess Athena. She served as a priestess in the magnificent and sacred temple of the goddess in Athens, a place of peace, wisdom, and unquestionable purity. Her life was a testament to faith, a shining example of virtue. Within those sacred walls, Medusa found her purpose, protected and blessed by Athena herself. No one would dare defile such a revered place. But the Greek pantheon was often ruled by divine passions and impulses, not justice. One day, the serenity of the temple was brutally shattered, not by a mortal, but by one of the most powerful gods of Olympus, Poseidon, lord of the seas. Driven by desire and the arrogance of power, Poseidon assaulted Medusa inside the very sanctuary of Athena. It was an act of pure desecration, a violation not only of Medusa's purity, but also the temple's sanctity and the honor of its goddess. The outrage was immense. Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare, could not allow such disrespect toward her sacred space. The heavens trembled with her fury upon learning of the violation. And yet, in a cruel and incomprehensible twist, her wrath did not fall upon Poseidon the aggressor, but on Medusa, the innocent victim, in what many scholars of mythology cite as a prime example of the cruel and often illogical nature of divine justice. Athena cursed Medusa. Her stunning beauty, once considered a gift, was hideously distorted. Her once lustrous hair was turned into a nest of writhing snakes, and her gaze became a deadly weapon, turning any living being who looked directly at her into cold, lifeless stone. She was no longer the beautiful, devoted priestess. She was now a creature of terror, instantly banished to the edges of the known world. Condemned to a life of complete isolation and fear, Medusa was punished for a crime she didn't commit. Transformed into a monster by the very act that victimized her, her accursed form became a prison. The deadly gaze, a gift she never asked for, was now her eternal torment. Each serpent on her head hissed a constant reminder of the monstrosity forced upon her. Every encounter, no matter how accidental, ended in tragedy. No one could approach her. No one could bear her gaze. Only the wind in the caves and the echo of her own despair were her companions. She, who had once been a beacon of beauty and piety, became a ghost of sorrow, trapped in a body that isolated her and a power that doomed her. The fear she inspired wasn't born of evil, but of the pain her mere presence could cause. Her curse became a vicious cycle. She was feared for her appearance, but that appearance was a living proof of her suffering. Silence and darkness became her only refuge, where the memory of her former beauty was nothing but a distant echo, consumed by the agony of her new reality. She never sought to hurt anyone, but her new form left her no choice, condemning her to a life of lament and perpetual solitude. Forced to leave the sacred temple that had once been her haven, Medusa was exiled to a desolate, rocky island where life itself barely dared to grow. The barren landscape mirrored her own hopeless existence. Silence was her only companion, broken only by the occasional hiss of her hair and the echoes of her cries. Cries no one dared to hear. Her curse was not just punishment, it was imprisonment. The gift of life, once so sacred to her, was now a threat. Any creature, animal or unlucky traveler, who crossed her path and met her gaze would instantly be turned to stone, frozen forever in a moment of terror. It was an involuntary defense, an impenetrable wall that ensured her isolation and kept the myth of the monster alive. Thus, the once beautiful priestess, the victim of divine injustice, became the guardian of a petrified graveyard, a monument to her own tragedy. She was no longer Medusa the beautiful, but Medusa the monster, a symbol of the arbitrary cruelty of the gods. And this is the cruel irony of her curse. The more she feared harming others, the more deadly her existence became. Banished to the ends of the earth, where sea and land met in eternal mourning, Medusa lived out her terrible fate. The paradise of devotion she had once known under Athena was now a solitary hell, a forced refuge of despair and silence. Each hiss from her serpent hair wasn't just a living strand. It was a reminder of the violation she suffered and the cruel injustice that bound her. The once pure priestess was now a shadow of her former self, sentenced to eternal isolation. Medusa didn't hunt. She didn't seek vengeance. Far from being a bloodthirsty monster, her only desire was to remain unseen, so no one else would be turned into a statue by her personal tragedy. Her fear of her own power was her greatest torment, an invisible prison even crueler than her physical exile. Day after day, night after night, the weight of her curse crushed her spirit. She wept, but her tears were stone, and the world, seeing only the terrifying creature, never saw the broken heart behind the mask. The Medusa we know, the one with the petrifying gaze, was a living embodiment of silent pain, a walking monument to the pitilessness of the gods, who turned purity into a nightmare and a victim into something to be feared, never understood. This Medusa, the real Medusa, is the one traditional myth often silences, a woman whose beauty and devotion were brutally twisted and destroyed not by her own doing, but by the merciless hand of divine injustice. She was condemned not for her guilt, but for being the victim of a violation the gods could not, or would not, judge fairly. What do you think of this perspective? Does it change how you see Medusa, the gods, and the very nature of justice in Greek mythology? Think about it the next time you hear her name, Medusa, the snake-haired monster with a deadly gaze. If you found yourself as intrigued as we were by this hidden face of Greek mythology, leave a like on this video. It's your way of letting us know we're on the right path. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss one of our deep dives into the pantheons, the heroes, and the untold truths behind ancient myths. Comment below which other myth or mythical figure you'd like to see explored next. Your suggestion could be our next journey.